there is a wholeness. And that is what we are. For we are created in the image and likeness of God. So how could we be anything other than whole? So as we tune into this time of meditation, to that place, wherever it is that you go, when you're in that place of communion with the God of your being, bring that wholeness with you. Very gently and very quietly say out loud right now, I am whole.
I am whole.
Let yourself breathe into that space of wholeness within you. That space of love, that place of oneness. And feel it begin to radiate through every cell of your body. And then allow yourself to use your breath to circulate that sense of wholeness, that sensation, that feeling. As you circulate it through your body, notice what happens within you. And then from that circulation, allow that wholeness to radiate and notice it moving through you, as you, and out of you, touching your neighbor. And feel your neighbor's wholeness touching you. That weave of oneness that we create. For we are that place where love shows up. And allow yourself to take that sense of being both individual and collective into the sacred and holy silence. And now as we bring our attention back to this time and this place, very quietly again say to yourself, I am wholeness. I embrace my wholeness. And I radiate wholeness. And bring your attention fully here. You might wiggle a little and move a little, so that we're coming back into this time of moving into the message. I want to talk about defining a moment. Let's see, do you have the clicker? I wanted to talk a little bit about a defining moment in my life. In the year 2000, I moved to Hawaii. I moved from San Diego, and the job that I had in San Diego, to Hawaii, and I was teaching at the university there. And I was exploring, as I have done each time I've moved from one place to another. And this particular day, I was roaming around exploring, and I walked into a store that was called Namea Hawaii, which means things Hawaiian, Namea Hawaii. And I'm looking around, and on one of their shelves was a statement. And this is the statement, Iho ka'i kahi ke aloha. And I went, wow, that's cool. Because right under it, in little bitty letters in English, it said, be one in love. Be one in love. The I, which is actually pronounced E, is a command marker. Like, do it. So it's not, oh, be one in love, but it's do it, be one in love. Ho'oka'i means one, ka'i means place, and aloha means love. So be one in love. Now, I had never been to a Unity church at this point. I had no idea that I would eventually move into a place where being one in love is part of the principle, the major principle. So this is about 5 years before I even heard of Unity. Be one in love. What this tells me in many ways is that we're guided long before we're aware consciously of being guided. Be one in love. So turn to your neighbor and say, I am one with you in love. So whether we're aware of it or not, we are truly one in love. Now, oneness means a state or a quality of being one or being united. So as you look around and see each other, we look different. We look very different in many ways. But do you know the geneticists say that we are 99.5% similar? That there's 0.5% difference in our genetic makeup. So when you start to think about that, all the beautiful, unique expressions of God that each of us is expressing in our own way is really more the same than unique. And yet we are a unique expression of God. And we are one. Now you might wonder how this could be. But when we look at the fact that we're created in the image and the likeness of God, that God is who we truly are, then it makes so much sense to us, or to me anyway, that we're both unique and very similar. Now I want to give you my definition of love, which came from Reverend Scott St. John many years ago. Love is the energy that emanates from the heart and wants nothing but the best of the object of its affection. So when we're truly in love, when we're truly in a state of love, we're looking at each other and we're wanting the best. No matter what the appearance is, when we're living in that love consciousness, we're wanting the best for that person. Now, Charles Fillmore says it this way. Charles Fillmore is the co-founder of Unity. Love never sees anything wrong with that which it loves. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to invite you to take a breath. If Edwin Gaines were here, she'd say, poke your neighbor. Love never sees anything wrong with that which it loves. It simply pours itself out on the object of its affection and takes no account of the results. Now, imagine if we applied this first to ourselves. Yeah, what if we applied this first to ourselves? I often judge myself. I often judge myself. And I've been known to judge some other people. And when I'm truly in love, when I'm truly in that state, that quality of being of love, it's very easy to just give love and don't worry about, does love come back to me? Is the person doing what I want them to do? Are they behaving in the way I'd like to see them behave? I'm just loving. That's what God does. God loves. Just simply loves.
It's got to be pretty tough to love yourself.
Well, it shouldn't have to be, but we've learned to make it tough. And that's what we're talking about today. So, now, the way Jesus would say this is in 3 parts. First of all, love God. Love the Lord your God with all your strength and all your heart and all your mind. The second way would be love your neighbor as yourself. And the third way is love your enemies. So the call to love from the Master Teacher Jesus comes in three components. Loving God, loving ourselves and our neighbor, in our oneness. When we love ourselves, we're loving our neighbor. When we're loving our neighbor, we're loving ourselves. And then to love our enemies. That's the most difficult one for me. But that's the one that we strive for, is to learn how to just be the presence of love in all of life. Now, Rumi, that rascal poet, says your task is not to seek for love is truly all around us. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against love. I have a few. Barriers. So that's really where we're going today. We're looking at what are the barriers to our loving, to being able to both give and receive love. What are the magic moves that help us to remove those barriers? And then are we willing and able to embrace our oneness? So the barriers for loving look like this. The first one is criticism. I'm sure none of you guys ever criticize yourself or anybody else. But have you ever heard, oh, that was so stupid? Or have you ever said to yourself, that was so stupid, that was so silly? Oh, you're such a jerk because you leave your socks on the floor. Those are words of criticism. And actually what they're doing is they're inciting our energy to come up and like to roar at each other in a way that is like, hey, I'm mad at you. To really roar with each other. Another one that we often do is contempt. This is where we see each other as, or we see ourselves as superior to another. We're not living in that quality of oneness, and we're not seeing the equality that is between all of us. So you often see it in the eye roll. Contempt is one of the, that somebody says something and you just roll your eyes. You also hear it in the tone of voice. Oh my goodness, can you believe she wore that? You hear the tone of voice? Or, oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh. So we show these contempt, we often show up in a nonverbal way. And yet, what contempt is really saying is, I'm better than you. I'm trying to make myself feel good by putting you down. And most of us have been taught to do this. Stonewalling, that emotional withdrawal. I'm mad at you, so I'm not going to talk to you. So when I see you coming, I'm going to go down to a different aisle at the grocery store. So then I don't have to interact with you. And then something that a lot of women don't know is sometimes when men are appearing to stonewall, they're not speaking. A lot of times what's going on in their heads is, ooh, I don't want to make this any worse than it already is, so I'm going to be quiet. You know that one?
Yes.
Yeah. And so what we do is we withdraw ourselves. Now, I have to tell you, I am a master at this one. I learned it from the master who was my mother. She was fabulous at this. And so I learned to do it. And it has taken me a good 30 years to begin to unravel that and learn not to do it. And the other one is defensiveness. When you encounter attack and you feel blamed. So when somebody says to you, hey, you cut me off. And you turn around and say, hey, you're not such a good driver yourself. You know that one? You know that dance that we do with each other? Hey. And it oftentimes in the South I have found it starts with, hey, I didn't like the way you did something. Well, I don't like the way you do something either. You watch too much TV. I don't watch TV that much. What do you want me to do? Not watch any TV at all? Any of this familiar? Well, there's some really, really easy. They just are practiced. It takes practice. Easy things to do begin to create magic moves to loving. When we move from criticism to making a request, would you be willing? Quite often starts like that. Would you be willing to wash the dishes that you left in the sink? Would you be willing to pick your socks up? Would you be willing to say that in a different tone of voice to me? I'm having a hard time hearing you. Would you be willing? And when we're willing to ask people to come to us in a way that we see as loving, we're both loving them because we're giving them an opportunity for ourselves to hear. And we're also saying, I want to hear what you have to say. I want to be with you. I'd like to see us do things differently together. So coming from that place of willingness is actually a form of coming from love. We can move from contempt to appreciation. Now that might be a little bit more of a difficult move, but if we start with appreciating something within us, like we have an ability to generate appreciation within ourselves. So take a moment and think of something you appreciate about yourself. And presence that for a moment. Maybe it's your listening skills. Maybe it's your loyalty. Maybe it's your lovingness. Maybe it's your willingness to be open-hearted. Bring that appreciation forward, and then imagine the person that you're having some difficulty with. What is the smallest thing that you can appreciate about that person? So you can create a loop of appreciation. And when we're appreciating somebody, even for that thing that they're doing, the edge comes off of it. That emotional charge that we so often get on something, on a behavior of another. We can take that edge off. And then we can step back a moment and we can go, oh, you know, I remember a time when I've done that too. One of my pet peeves is when somebody's in a parking lot and they're walking down the middle of the parking lot road, and I'm trying to drive and find my own parking space, and they're clueless that anybody's behind them.
Walmart.
So you guys know the feeling. So that's one of my pet peeves, and I kind of get my grrr up about it. But one of the things I've learned to do is to notice when I'm doing it. Because there are times I'm just having a really good day, and I'm just walking down the middle of the street in the parking lot, and I go, oh. So when I can appreciate that I have engaged in similar behavior, I can have a much easier time appreciating when somebody is doing something that's my pet peeve. So when we bring appreciation to things, we open the space to open the energetic flow between us. When we move from stonewalling to revealing what is true for us, we do a similar thing. We open up that energetic flow. When I want to close up and shut down, I can very easily say, wow, I'm scared if I say anything, I'm going to make things worse. And I don't want to make things worse. I actually want the ease to come back between us. When I'm feeling like, oh, I don't want to talk to that person, I can say, I need a few moments or I need a few days to calm down. And I'm happy to talk to you again, but I would like some space. It makes all the difference in the world. Because when somebody is stonewalling with us, when they're withdrawing, we have a tendency to make up all kinds of stories. And the stories usually have more to do with us than that other person. So when we engage in that art of communication, I just need a few moments, I just need an hour, I need a day. I'll get back with you, I promise, and then follow through. We create, again, that space for loving. And we move from defensiveness to facing by engaging in generous listening. My mentor, whose name is Dave Hendricks, said to me one day, whenever anybody blames you, when they call you some name, when they label you, say, yes, I have the capacity to do that. Because what's true is we all have the capacity to do everything. So yes, I have the capacity to do that. Now I may never choose to engage in stepping into that capacity, but I recognize that I have the capacity. And so I can say, well, yes, that might be true. Or yes, I have done that in the past. So we're not actually getting engaged and getting in the fight, getting in the flow of adrenaline. We're saying, let me look at that. So when we're able to listen generously to each other, no matter what somebody else is saying, we might not feel it to be true, we might not feel ourselves to have engaged in that behavior, but we can say, well, yes, I believe I might have the capacity to do that. And we've stopped the argument because there's no place to fight. There's nothing to fight with. So these are some magic moves that lead to us embracing oneness. And when we embrace our oneness with each other and we're able to notice those similarities, that 99.5%, we notice that while we may look different, we all have the same needs. I want to feel like I fit in. I want to belong. I want somebody to listen to me when I speak. I want to know that when I walk into a room, I'm going to be welcomed. We all have those psychological needs. And when we notice that we all have those psychological needs, when a new person comes in, we can say, hey, it's nice to see you. I don't know you, and it's still nice to see you. And think about how you would like to be treated. And when we come in with those similarities with each other and we start to be conscious of them, then we can give and receive them. When somebody's mad, sometimes all they really need is our generous listening, our willingness to be present. We don't have to take it on, but our willingness to just be present. Because that's really one of the greatest gifts that we can give to each other. When we celebrate love. When we celebrate the love that's actually all around us. And when we're willing to look for love, then we begin to call it forth. We magnetize it in unity speak. We call it forth to ourselves. For whatever we're focusing on is going to expand. So when I look around and I see the smile of the stranger in the store, when I have somebody open the door for me that I don't know and actually stand there a minute until I get to the door, that's an action of love. It's also an action of kindness. And when I'm starting to look for those actions, it's very easy to see them in life. I can see the couple that's holding hands while they're walking on the beach. I can see the moment of exchange between two people. I was in the bank on Thursday, and I was in a bit of a hurry because I had a whole list of things I needed to accomplish in a very short time. And I go in and I'm making a deposit. The bank was pretty empty that day, and the teller wanted to have a conversation with me. I took a breath, and I remembered that she wanted the same things I want. She wanted to be recognized. She wanted to make a momentary connection. And so I took a breath, and I thought, this revving of my own engine of I've got to go is mine, it's not hers. So I took another breath, and I took another breath, and I was able to be present with her. And we had a delightful exchange while she took care of my deposit and inputted it. And I walked away, and she said, it was so nice to talk with you. Now, she didn't notice that I was like in that adrenalized state of wanting to move on, because I recognized that she was actually reaching out for connection. She was reaching out for a form of love. And so all I needed to do is take a breath and center myself, and then I could be the love in that moment. And she experienced it, and I experienced it. So not only did I give to her, but I gave to myself in that moment. We can express love and appreciation for each other. Do you know that for all of those moves, the blaming and the criticizing, the stonewalling, the defending, and the contempt, for every time that we do that, researcher John Gottman, who does a lot of work with marriage and couples, says that it takes 5 acts and words of appreciation to balance it out. So one blame statement, if you think about those scales where you put something on it, one part goes down really far and the other one comes up. So every time we blame, it takes 5 appreciations of that same person in order to balance the scale. That tells you how harmful tells me how harmful the blame is. So my task in life right now is to recognize that I'm the place where love shows up. And just as I did with the teller, even when I'm in a hurry, to take the breath, to be the love, to recognize the oneness that I have with someone else, and to live from a place of appreciating that somebody wanted to talk to me. Somebody she didn't know, but it was a moment of connection for her, and it ended up being a moment of connection and learning for me. You know, when we appreciate each other, when we live from that place of appreciation, that our health gets better. When we live from a place of appreciation with each other, people look different. They look more beautiful to us. Appreciation brings a lot of goodies. It brings a lot of joy to us. And it is one of the easiest ways to learn to live in oneness. The writer of 1 John in chapter 4, verse 11 says, "If we love one another, God dwells deeply within us, and God's love becomes complete in us." Perfect love. Well, we know there's only one presence and one power in the universe, so we know that that presence and power is love. So love already lives within us. But what I think this writer is saying is that when we love one another, we are actually being the dwelling of God that is within us. We are living it. We are radiating it. We are embracing it. We are allowing it to come forth and to be complete in us. We're living from that consciousness of our divine identity, and that is the perfect love. Our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, says this: "When we become acquainted with one another, and we know what we are in truth, we change our minds about one another. When we live in oneness, when we know who we truly are, created in the image and likeness of God, when we are expressing God, then we know who we really are. And so when I see you, when I interact with you, when I talk with you, I'm talking to God. I, God, am talking to God." So when we live from this place, the emotions of passion and temper are changed, according to Myrtle Fillmore, and I have had this experience. But the emotions of passion and temper are changed. They're spiritualized. When we understand them, they become the power, that wonderful power of love, of life, of wisdom, of joy, of health that we long for and that we express as part of our divine identity. So I have a challenge for you. Would you be willing to commit to living and loving in oneness? So let's say that together. I commit to living and loving in oneness. Now turn to your neighbor and say that to your neighbor. I commit to living and loving in oneness. What a way to live. What a way to live. So my invitation to you is experiment. Play with this over the next few weeks. Living and loving in oneness. And see what happens in your life. And let me know.